If you want to chat about well-known Hollywood rough guys, then Lee Marvin is an actor in American movies and TV shows, has a specific place in that group. But this actor has a lot more to offer. You'd be shocked to know that more than meets the eye. He did this when he won an Oscar. Learn the hidden truth about American Lee Marvin and other actors in today's video. Before he became one of the most famous actors in Hollywood, let's start by talking about Lee Marvin early years. Born Lamont on February 24, 1924, Waltman Marvin Jr.B. To a soldier of World War I fashion and Lamont Waltman Marvin designer court in Washington, the youngest a child. Marvin Jr.B. lived in New York. He started playing the violin but didn't like it, going to school because he had ADHD and dyslexia, which made things hard for him. Yet he grew up to be a good young man, and during his teens, future actor spent his weekend shunting deer, wild turkeys, and bob white in the Everglades, which were then unexplored. Something he liked without any worrisome. The 1930s, Marvin went to a Christian socialist school for boarding in New York called Manumit School and Peak. Later on, he went to Skill Military Academy. A lot of trouble as a teenager because he got kicked out of a few other schools for bad behavior and harmful habit, smoking and fighting a lot. The last went to St. Leo College for School. St. Leo, Florida. Before a specific occurrence made him change his ways and take a new path in life. At the second, when World War II came out, Marvin was one of numerous guys who answered the call to service in the United States Marine Corps on August 2, and he called his father the chief in 1942. Anyone who had served in the Marines was quite a lot against it, but it appears like the only thing the young people did was boot camp. Marvin required discipline to be slammed into his body, even if there was still a little amount of rowdiness in him. Right before he graduated from infantry school, Marvin was already a quartermaster. Marvin did a few things for the Marines of outstanding feats. He worked as a scout sharpshooter in the 4th Marine Division in Pacific Theater and even took part in the wars on Anatol and Chianan, which was thought to be one of the worst things that happened back then. Marvin was hurt while he was serving during their attack on Mount Tope at the Battle of Saipan, with the most of his friends being deaths and injuries from the battle. On June 18, 1944, Marvin was shot by a machine gun where the bullet impacted his sciatic nerve and also got shot again. In his style, sniper shot him in the foot because of this was taken out and given medical care. Therapy costs almost a year. Unfortunately, he got better quickly and was sent home from the hospital with a medical discharge with the Purple Medal Heart for what he did along with valor. Marvin was also the person who got the President's Unit referenced the Pacific Ajan, the American Campaign Medal for the Campaign's Combat Action Ribbon, and the medal, the World War II Victory Medal, is quite lovely. Great things for a Marine. Rated. Marvin wasn't a private first class. He would have still been such a troublemaker at his old rank as corporal. However, it looks like you couldn't really take out the boy in a man, even though serving. Marvin says that being in the Marines was hard to stay. There was the very thing that he'll explain you how to act. Showed him how. Marvin told Robert Ward, the interviewer, "It taught me how to do it. To act after that. Acting tough wasn't too hard because we all know Lee Marvin was known for his distinctive white hair and was the best illustration of an I see this is a tough person who was chilled after the battle, where Marvin's career really took off." But before we go on, make sure you hit that button that says like and subscribe. With Marvin came home when the war was done and got a job as a plumber's helper in Woodstock, New York, but fate would have it this was his way to get to the entertainment industry. Injury during the soon-to-be actor was working the job, asked to take the position of an actor because the latter had gotten sick while rehearsals that same day. Marvin got the acting bug and started to love of acting and got himself he works for the company and makes to $7 a week. Did a lot of acting jobs before he moved to Greenwich Village in lower New York City and signed up for the American Theater Wing. Was lucky for the GI Bill, which is the law that gives rewards to people who come back. Veterans paid for his acting fee lessons during the beginning of his career. Marvin played a lot of parts that didn't get credit, and he made his stage debut in 1949, first appearance in the original version of The Billy Budd in 1949, the same year as the play. Marvin also got a part in the 1949 play. The 19th hole of Europite started to go better from there, and shortly Marvin's got the next item. He knew himself occupied and busy on various TV shows. The parts Lee Marvin played in his first movie, 1951 American war comedy Your In the Navy, where he worked with Charles Bronson and Jack Warden. It just so happened that it was also the top performer's first movie, even though it was filmed it took place in Hollywood, and Marvin chose to stay in California that same year also. Had a little part in Fred. This and Zimmerman's 1951 movie Teresa was the first time his military helped out because he was an expert, helping behind the scene showing directors and his co-stars realistic pictures of infantry even joined in and helped with the moves. With the gun and the outfit, because he was in the military, Marvin was somewhat trapped in a certain character, usually a man in uniform or in some kind of official. He had a lot of projects in his responsibilities, nevertheless, little, like being in one of the parts of the American Anthology Theater by the Fire and another anthology called Rebound. His other earlier works include Diplomatic Courier, We Are Down Amid the Sheltering Palms, Not Married, The Duel at Silver Creek, and Dangman Didn't Think He Was a Man. In the Western movie Back in Uniform Seal and the Korean War movie The Glory Blade that came out in both in 1953, Marvin was also was a terrific fit for Western. Therefore he had a few off other efforts like this one, such as Stranger Had a Gun on Him, Randolph Scott, and Gun Fury. All of these projects subsequently led to his big break part, which was trying to show that the 1950s were the best part of the actor's career. Wasley Marvin Lucky Star finally shone brightly when he played Steven Stone, the bad guy in the 1953 movie noir Huge Heart Crime. Was praised by Thief that same year. He was a star in The Publicist in another movie with Marlon Brando, American crime movie called The Wild Only. Marvin played Chino, the head of motorcycle group known as the Beatles. People liked these two movies a much, showed that Marvin had done well, which led to his role in more successful ventures. People liked the 1955 movie Violent Saturday, several critics, one of whom said how his performance made added a lot of intricacy to the role. Frank also got to work with Marvin as a co-star. Sinatra is not a stranger to the medical field drama from back in 1955. He played a lot of small parts in this decade, like in A Life in Balancing the Blues of Pete Kelly and Janeway Man shows the Fireside Theater Boutique. There's one series where Marvin got the main part in the Seriesm Squad, where he played the part of Frank Bollinger, a fierce Chicago cop. He was a household name on TV because of his role in a lot of different positions and taking on different people. Yet there's one part that really impressed the critics with how good he was at his job. Is there a better approach for an actor to show his capabilities than by playing two different actors in the same movie? That what Marvin did in 1965 was exactly a funny western. Cat Named Baloo is based on The Ballad of Cat Baloo. Marvin is a new book. Starred with Jane Fonda, and the American film says that it was in the Institute's top 10 list in 2008. Called the 10th best Western of all time. It tells the story of a woman named Fonda plays named Catherine Cat Ballou, who hires the famous gunslinger Kid Shalene to guard her father's ranch. Hires the same man later to get revenge for her father's death, just to find out that the person she hired to do the shooting isn't exactly what she wanted to see. Harley Marvin plays two roles, a kid and a man. Shalene and the ruthless, noseless assassin Tim Straw. The Wolf City Development Corporation wants to scare Frankie Ballou off his property, but Straw just took the dude out without. At first, the cat feels bad and asks for help from the local government, but they find out quickly knew how the sheriff is really into Wolf City's pockets. Thus now she wanted the youngster Shalene, who is a lot of help. Handful, a grizzled, drunk, and humorous cat had her misgivings at the same moment about hiring him, but what other choice does she have? Soon she learned that there was a reason why Kid Shalene was famous after watching him in action with his unmissable crack shots. The man just had down a few of drinks to shake off his withdrawal from playing these two roles, while being the exact opposites was a thrill to watch, and some might even suggest that different actors play them, where Tim Straw is scary and dramatic. There's a kid named Shalene who is every bit of humorous relief. The latter is clumsy, often tripping and falling with their pants down and puddling around his ankles. Drunk as hell, it makes him more attractive to the spectators on the same level. It also makes them think about whether he's the ideal person to take out the famous strong person who is known for taking out strong, and that's where he gets his energy from. Cats affection, striving to be a better man. Later, it becomes clear that these twinmen are actually brothers who are polar. Cuthbert and Straw are opposites, and Shellen is cruel in her ways, sensitive man who was hurt by these world sins, even while the latter she only one who can help is the cat. Attempts because he believes in him his best to become Healthier because she loves him. Shalene was able to deal with his problems, and when his brother saw how Lee Marvin was able to do such different performances of characters, it didn't pop up because we were both on the same screen. The movie not only came as a surprise, it was a big hit at the box office and won awards and had nominations. The people could see a different aspect of Lee Marvin's stern and authoritative roles with his role as youngster. Shalene should believe that the actor won, and you wouldn't believe what Marvin did during his speech of acceptance. I suppose it's dedicated to a horse, but half this belongs to a horse somewhere routine the valley that made Drew giggly crowd after Cat Ballou. Lee Marvin took on another project in the West, and The Professionals is a movie from 1966, which was also a big hit. After this is how he obtained the part of Major John Rissman, which became one of his more popular movies with other actors top-billed actors like Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, John Seitz, and Donald Sutherland. Lee Marvin won an Oscar, gave him a lot more chance, and by then they already knew he was. Marvin had an enormous star with that same amount of influence over his 1967 project Point Blank, where he played a tough guy criminal who was determined to get Evan. John Borman directed this movie, and his future project Inferno in the Pacific. Even if this movie wasn't very, it was praised by film critics for being successful. Lee Marvin found critics by the 1970s playing smaller bad villain roles himself, and he was able to look into other still builds ventures. Nevertheless, there was a number of Western initiatives that Minnie Walsh, Prime Cut, Picket, Cash T, Iceman, and the Emperor of the North Cometh, to mention a few. But he met and Lee Marvin collaborated with a lot of people. He highly picky about who his buddies are and appreciates his privacy, which is why there are only a few times when he talks about his friends who work in the same field as he. Me can't bear myself. If I could, I'd play. Marvin played the same guy in all of my roles. Stated, I don't even like being around myself. I don't have anything fresh to tell myself, or if I prefer being among other actors. How could I enjoy myself if I don't like myself? Then because I can't go out in public, Aussie do most of my work now that I don't do as much as I used to, hanging out with the working stiffs on they set during a movie. The stuntmen, thegophers, and prop men are the ones behind the people behind the scenes keep me on track. When Lee Marvin relationships era had to marriages, and one that was hard to understand on that eventually became a public disaster. Beckus, it was taken to court. But let's discuss about his first marriage with Betty Ebeling in the past 1952. Even if their marriage ended, they still lived together for 15 years after their divorce. Great years. Even though they were short apart for 2 years till they're officially separated. Couple had 4 kids in 1967, including a boy and 3 daughters, Christopher, Lamont, Courtney, Cynthia Louise, and Claudia Leslie. Right after he broke up, Marvin got into a fight with Ebeling, connection with an actress from the United States, Michael Triola, who moved in with him girlfriend from 1965 until 1970. Despite though they weren't legally married, changed her name to Marvin and looked for pay identical to what wives get under California's alimony, which became the famous Palimony lawsuit. She said that they were together for 6 years. Marvin's child was born to Triola, and she also said that he paid for 2 abortions while she was pregnant with her other child ended in a miscarriage. And the actress added that the abortion made her inability to have children. The lawsuit got a lot of attention, so everyone knew about it, pretty basically in their business. Even if the court told him to pay $114,000 for rehabilitation purposes, he turned down her claim for 1.5 off. Marvin made around $4 million over the 6 years they lived together. It was cause of a partnership that isn't married. Contracts are not the same as marriage. Therefore, her claim isn't enough to pay for it. It took another 2 years until this part court found out that there wasn't even a contract that isn't for marriage to start with this. The award she got was voided and ended the lawsuit. As for Triola, with whom she had a romantic relationship with actor Dick Van Dyke from 1976 until she died of lung cancer in back to Lee Marvin in October 2009. The actor's second and last marriage was to his childhood sweetheart Pamela Fye. They got married in 1970 and stayed married till he died too soon in 1987. When the Hollywood star became older, Marvin's star power faded. and he soon found himself in fewer major roles. The actor's last role was in the 1980s. The huge shot arrived in the shape of the Zergiant in Samuel Fuller's 1980 movie Epic the Big Red. One is another war movie he made. Tasks that came after, like Death Hunt, Gorky Park, and Dog Day, were not as good. The same goes for commercial successious TV endeavors in 1985. He did Hysis Major John Rissian in the next movie Dirty Dozen's next mission is still going on, where the first movie left off, even though him being 18 years older. Today, in terms of Lee's health, is no secret to anyone. Marvin had a hard time with alcoholism, that from his stint in the military during war to measuring the course of his life, which was the reason for his death. One infamous narrative about his troubles with being sober took place while they were filming The Dirty Dozen, in which his character as prominent Risson was scheduled to drive a pickup with Joseph Law, was played by Charles Bronson. They were getting ready to start filming when couldn't find Lee Marvin on set. Annie Weir, and it was the crew who found him later at a bar and brought him back on set, drunk. Since they have to film the scene, the production crew did their utmost to get him sober, him up, and made him drink coffee right before that. An angry Bronson came up to him and said they would kill Marvin right then and there, but thank God he didn't. And we got to see the masterpiece that is The Filthy Dozen. Back to the actor died at the age of 63, from a heart attack on August 29 in 1987. Marvin had a serious digestive problem break that made him go into respiratory distress. The physicians decided to provide steroids to aid his breathing, only for him to go into heart attack months before he died. Marvin was at the hospital for more than 2 weeks, hospital in December 1986, because of a condition connected to coidomycosis. Despite his fame as a celebrity, Lee Marvin was more proud of his work in the Marine Corps, and he was awarded full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. There was no reference of him being an actor. Whatever Marvin's headstone said, Lee Marvin, PFC Marine Corps, World War II. Maybe the reason why Lee Marvin didn't contribute as much as relevance to his work as an actor compared to serving the nation is because he knew what Hollywood was really like. One day you're a huge deal, and the next minute you're in the gutters. The next you're a star. Marvin once said that they put your name on a star on the sidewalk on you stroll along Hollywood Boulevard and see a mound of dog poop on it. That gives the whole story, baby.